Hello, everyone. Today I am a lone ranger. It's just me, no partner, but luckily I have all of you, the Africam community, to keep me company. And as you can see, I have plenty of other friends as well. I'll introduce you to them in a moment. But welcome to Wild Moments, powered by explore.org. It's me, Trishala. Very happy to be your guide today. If this is the first time that you're watching Wild Moments, it's where we go through some of the really cool clips that we've had over the week, or sometimes even further back. Sometimes we have a theme, sometimes it's just cool clips. Like today, it's just cool clips. Now, before we get started, let's say hello to everybody, because we're live and interactive, so you can send through questions and comments and tell me how you're enjoying the show today, because I'll tell you why I am where I am in a moment. But first, Hammerkop, you say happy Thursday to all. Thanks to Trish for being our guide. My pleasure. I love it. Zygote, you say namaste. Namaste to you too, Zygote. Suki V in the UK, you say you made it. Hello all. Jirel, you say it's a smiling morning as always. I love it. With Explore and Ranger Trish, you've got a delicious cup of Java. I've just got some water today. Appropriately so, because I'm at the aquarium. I'm at the Two Oceans Aquarium. I had something to do here, a meeting here, and so I decided I'll just stay here and do wild moments with all of you here as well. Rolling Trouble, you say hi to Charlotte, coffee and water here in Washington. Tris Vissop, you say hello everybody, greetings from Poland. You hope everyone's doing great and ready for the great show as usual. Karu, you say hello to me, hello to you, Karu. Dear NC, you say hello from Seattle. You're ready with your coffee and a smile. April Owl, you say hi everyone from a sunny Connecticut, eagerly awaiting the show with your hot ginger, lemon, and honey tea. Oh, that sounds amazing. Here in Cape Town, it is really, really cold. It's overcast, it's dreary, but that's okay because I'm inside and I'm at the aquarium. So like I said, I stayed for a little bit longer just because it would have taken too long for me to drive home. And luckily, my friends here at the aquarium hooked me up with some Wi-Fi and some friends. Look at that guy. Do you recognize this? It's an African penguin. And speaking of African penguins, and actually, no, before we get into it, I'm going to show you around very quickly. But you have to be quiet. Look at this. We have a little turtle. Our lovely penguin. This is the closest I've ever been to a penguin. Obviously, this is not alive. And a whole lot of other doodads. And I'm in a little bit of a lab. So each one of those kind of tanks have mollusks in them and starfish. So echinoderms. So echinoderms are things like sea stars and what is the word I'm looking for? Sea urchins. There we go. And a whole lot of mollusks as well. But anyway, I'm just really happy that I get to come to you for somewhere really cool that's not my office. And speaking of mollusks, it's an odd one, not one we usually get to have a clip of, but let's go ahead and have a look. This is so sweet. No, there's two things happening here. Obviously, you can see the shell right in the middle of the screen. I don't think that's a mollusk, is it? For a moment there, I thought it was a hermit crab that had stolen a shell, but now you can see that there's definitely a muscular foot moving around. And then those ones that are closer to us, those are limpets. They look like true limpets. True limpets come from the genus Patella, like your kneecap. And what the mollusk right in the middle, remember a mollusk is just like a sea snail? Well, it's a snail, but you get sea snails and they're mollusks. But this looks like an alicroical. I think in English it's a periwinkle or a turban shell. And it goes around, oh, what is this? I thought, my goodness, has suddenly Taylor made an appearance. Sorry about that, just a little glitch. So like the snails that we get on land, the snails at sea, they can be a little bit different, but similarly, they have a radula. and teeth-like structures, and they scrape algae off the rocks. So that's what this one's getting up to right here. The limpets, however, they move a little bit differently, also scraping things off rocks, but they can also trap things. So they can lift themselves up and then say a piece, for example, kelp limpets, say a piece of kelp comes waving through, the kelp limpet can lift itself up and then close itself onto a piece of kelp and then eat that up. That was very cool. I think it's very appropriate considering where I am at the moment. Jan Powers, you say, hi everyone, slightly cooler in Arizona these days. Phew, glad that you're getting some coolness. Bridget McKenney, you say, hi Trishala. Hello, Bridget. Andy, you say, good afternoon. Where did we go? Where did you go, Andy? Good afternoon. Always fun and exciting to be here. Thank you, Andy. Bob from Kalamazoo, you say, happy Thursday, Trishala, my friend. Happy Thursday to you too, Bob, my friend. Trismesop, you say, nice background. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very much a terrestrial gal. The focus of my career in terms of natural history has always been, not always, but it's mostly been focused on the terrestrial environment. I mean, as a guide for the last 5 years, the focus has been on terrestrial environment. But before that, I was working in marine sciences, and then a little bit here and there. So when I get back into this kind of marine lab setting, I get quite excited. And I'm happy that you could share in it with me because you're all here. Rolling Travel, you say, woohoo, how fun to be there. It is very fun. The Two Oceans Aquarium is a beautiful, beautiful place, and mostly they do excellent conservation work. Excellent conservation work. They have a turtle team that rehabilitate turtles. They have a whole lot of animals that come in that are sick, injured, or washed up, and they have a huge department and a good amount of facility to be able to help and re-release those animals. So it's always a pleasure to come through and visit my friends here at the Two Oceans Aquarium. Karu, you say, oh, cool. That was a very cool clip. Rolling Trouble, you say, fun place for sure. It is a very fun place. Zygote, you say, wow. Karu, you say, cool. And then you also say that you have some limpet shells as well. The limpet shells, if we could just go back to that clip very quickly, the limpet shells are those triangular ones that are very close to us. So limpet shells, as well as these turban shells or periwinkles, the one that's moving about, there's two of them at the top there, those are ones that are really easy to find. That's the thing you find along shores as you walk very, very often. So it doesn't surprise me that you have a few limpet shells. I do have a few too. Always making sure if I ever take shells from the beach, I take them from a place where it is allowed. Some places it's not allowed because it can be a sensitive area. Something to keep in mind. Anyway, keeping kind of in theme, let's head over to the next clip that's from Stony Point, and this guy is very happy about it. It's a couple rock hyraxes or dusties, and they've got little babies. Oh, this is lovely. Now they live on the rocky areas that are around Stony Point where the penguins are. And that whole area is kind of a rocky beach. I wouldn't even really call it a beach. There's certainly some places that have some good sand, but a lot of it is rock too. And so these rock hyraxes thrive in that area. And as you can see, they have a little one too. Now they can have anything from, oh, there we go, there's a second one. They have about 2 to 4 offspring. It's not something we get to see too often. And as you can see, they're pretty tiny, but they're very well developed. They're fully furred when they're born, and they also have their eyes open. And I'm not sure if this is the first time that you're seeing these two. I wonder if they've been, born in the last few days, because you can see that they're mobile, they're fully furred, and their eyes are open. Very, very cute. Now what's quite interesting about dassies is that they, in terms of their reproduction, is that they're really small animals, right? But their gestation period is about 6 to 7 months. And that's a long time. But also, when you think about an elephant, which is also a relative of the dassie or the rock hyrax, they also have a very extended gestation period, and their young too is born pretty much fully developed. They can stand, they have sparse fur or hairs on their body, and they can move around, they're mobile, and their eyes are open. Similarly, with young dassies, that long gestation period means that their young can also be fully developed, and it's necessary if they want to move around in their environment. So I think for the first 2 weeks, they only will have their mother's milk, but soon after that, from about 2 weeks old, they will start eating vegetation around them. Uh, Tim, you'd like to know, can dassies swim? Technically, they can. I can't say I've seen it. And I say technically they can because there was a study that was done that basically modeled a whole lot of mammals and then modeled their ability to swim. And the only one that failed that particular exercise was a giraffe. But according to the model, dassies would be able to swim too. But like I said, I haven't seen it. But I tell you what, if there's a place you were going to see it, it's probably going to be at the Stony Point camp. Rolling Trouble, you say babies. They are very, very small, very cute babies. Kim Hai. Hi, Kim Hai. You'd like to know, what is a baby hyrax called? A pup or a cub? It would be a pup. I just call them offspring. It's usually when I'm not too sure what the youngsters are called. But in this case, they are pups. Little pups. Just what's up, you say cuteness overload. Cuteness overload indeed. Karu, you just want to know about the limpets. Do they have a lot of feet or only a few? So all mollusks, we're back here, have one big foot that they move around. You know what? I'm going to show you something. Let's just have a quick look back at me. I'm going to show you what I mean, Karu. Isn't it lovely when you can actually demonstrate things? I'm going to show you. I saw one earlier. Where did you go? Okay, there we go. So I'm going to point you down like this. Can you see this here? This is a chitin. So it's a type of mollusk. It's got a singular foot, one fat foot underneath. We're lucky that it's got its body on, or its underside facing us, that we can actually see this one singular foot. Goodness, can I just do all the Wild Moments shows in an area like this? Let me go back here. Just what's up, you say cuteness overload. It is a cuteness overload. Karu, you say these babies, dassies, are so cute, mini-me's like the adults. Well, now we know a whole lot more about Karu. He has short limbs and is very furry. And then you'd like to know, do they eat the same exact food as the adults do? They look pretty darn developed. They do look pretty developed. But imagine, I mean, they're small animals. The baby's only about, yay big. And they've been cooking in there for 6 to 7 months. That's a lot of time for development. In terms of what they eat, yes, they will eat the same things as the parents. What we will get often with herbivores is youngsters, when they begin eating vegetation, they will also eat some of their mother's excrement. And that just helps them to get the correct bacteria into their gut. But that's just a small window. But if we're talking about what they'd eat, they're going to eat the same vegetation as the parents do, just as long as they have the gut bacteria in order to break them down, to break down the fibrous cell walls, the cellulose in plants. And they'll get that from eating their mom's poop. Simples. Anyway, speaking of rock hyraxes or dassies and their relationships with elephants, let's go over and have a look at an elephant. So this is at the Aldonio waterhole, and I remember so many times being asked, why do we only see elephant bulls at Old Donyo? Or why don't we see breeding herds? Well, here you go. It's not something we see too often, but it definitely happens. And this little one is, um, yeah, having some trouble getting to know how to use that floppy, unruly appendage on its face. It looks as if this youngster didn't even manage to get a drink. Just the tip of its trunk is wet. Usually what they will do is they'll put their whole faces into the water to drink when they haven't got full control of their trunk just yet. But this one's not doing it. At least not yet. Eventually it's going to need to because it too would want to drink some water. It looks very young though. Yeah, we also have a really nice view of the elephant's nails. Do you see that on the one who's got a wet foot? Those nails are really helpful to break vegetation. You might have seen them roll up bundles of grass with their trunk and then they pull it taut and then they cut it off with their nails, cut it off at the ground. It actually looks very similar to the foot of a dussie. And anatomically, it is quite similar too. Oh, that young one, as like I said, is definitely under a year old, but it actually looks like it might just be a few months old. Under a year old is a little bit more difficult to. Sorry, let me just restrict myself. It's a little bit more difficult to age them, but when young elephants are like just a few months old, they kind of look a little lanky, as if their body has not filled out yet, which makes sense. They're only a few months old. And that one just still looked a little lanky and skinny. Okay, on to the next one. Also, if you want to see anything here, just let me know if something catches your eye in the background. We can chat about it. I'm so excited to be here. Anyway, let's go have a look at a Hammerkop doing something a little bit weird. Okay, I've never seen this before. I have never seen that before. They're not mating, they're just standing on top of each other. This is at Maratan. You can actually see they look like they're standing on a burnt log. You might even hear the helicopter in the background. You were unsure, a lot of the Pilansberg was burned earlier this week or late last week, rather. Are you going to do it again? That is very weird. I know this is not the reason, but it was almost as if they were trying to imitate and be like, oh, look, I'm a helicopter too. Let me stand on your back. So the only thing I can interpret that as is perhaps some kind of dominance behavior, because it's basically telling another animal, hey, I can stand on you. What you going to do about it, in the most simple terms. But I've never ever seen something like that before, ever. Um, if they were going to mate, it would be very obvious. Mating in birds is not a protracted affair. Once a bird is mounted, it happens, it's done, Bob's your uncle. But that was not that. This looked like some kind of dominance behavior, and certainly not something I've ever seen before. Okay, where are we? Oh, we're going through all our clips so quickly. Someone said, please show the pufferfish. Was that you, Kirst? We do have one more clip left, but we can go have a look at the pufferfish. Caro, you say thanks for the information on the limpet. Um, it's really cool to have it around so I could actually show you the foot. Zygote, you say you've seen it before. It's false mating. I mean, I don't know. I mean, definitely it's false something. Okay, we'll look at the pufferfish just now. It's definitely, it could be interpreted as false mating, but if they were false mating, I would expect their rump to go down a little bit, and it didn't. But then they did do the flapping of the wings, so maybe. Um, but also, false mating is in a way dominance behavior, like when male animals mount other male animals. So, could be a bit of both, perhaps. Um, oh, thank you. Kirst just sent me something. There we go. Sorry, just reading. So this does make a lot of sense. So Kirst just sent this to me. She says, social interactions with, well, I mean, she doesn't say, but she sent this, frequently occur which involve false mountings when they stand at each other's back and then change around at random. And it's accompanied by loud, excited calling. I think that makes sense. That matches because three of them were doing it and doing it differently. So even though, I mean, we know that hammerkops are monogamous, doesn't mean that they can't show off or show some kind of dominance by doing this kind of um, fake mounting, I suppose. So there you go. Yeah, can't say to me, just in my head, is them pretending to be helicopters. Bob from Kalamazoo, you say you thought they were practicing for a talent show. What kind of talent would that be? Okay, maybe we'll look at the last clip and then we can have a look at some of the things that are behind me. Next up, we have a saddle. Oh, it's not a saddle-billed stork; it's a yellow-billed stork, I think, and it's got a fishy in its mouth. Never mind, not a fishy. I got fish in the mind. Storks hunt because they look like such gentle birds, but they can be quite brutal. Now, typically what we would see, is that they would catch something in the water and then move away from the water, like to the shore, to ensure it doesn't escape. But this one is taking a bit of a risk. I mean, that frog looks well and truly dead. And it's got to get it in just the right position so that it can swallow it easily. Now, if it went legs first, you can imagine what that would be like. It would kind of close up their esophagus because the legs would spread out. So they've got to rotate it so that it's head first before it can go down. Ah, there we go. Very nice. Watching birds catch frogs, or anything really at a waterhole, is very impressive because if you have to imagine the way that animals in aquatic environments move, they can move quite quickly when they want to. But apart from that, there is a distortion that happens in the water in terms of light, and then obviously the way that the light interacts with the water or refracts in the water, and then your eyes being able to interpret and measure those differences. So we're really bad at that. Especially, I mean, if we're fully in the water, like if you're diving, then your brain can start to kind of get accustomed and modify its measurements. But when you're like in a pool and half your body is in the water and the other half is on top, and something falls in the water and you go to grab it, you're always, not really hitting the mark. So if you imagine a bird that is hunting in an aquatic environment, not only do they have to um, be able to predict the movements of their prey because they can move really quickly and dart in different directions. If you've ever tried to catch a fish in the water, you know it's difficult with your hands. But also, their eyes have to accommodate for that difference in the refraction of the light. And some birds that are famous for this kind of accommodation, I suppose, are kingfishers. Kingfishers are famous for it, but things like fish eagles will have to do a similar thing. Storks would also have to do a similar thing, but at least with storks, they're not, perched up on a tree and then diving in and investing all that energy in the dive or the hover, like a kingfisher does. Bluebird, you say hello from Texas and you're happy to see everyone. You're glad to be here. And hi, Trishala, and thank you. My favorite. Why did I just say my favorite? I'm not sure. So many things are my favorite, but you're welcome. It's my favorite thing to do is to be here with you. That's where I was going. Kauru, you say Hammerkop love, I tell ya. Yeah, Hammerkop love. It's crazy out there. Monogamous, but still want to play mount people or birds. Kim Hai, you say, could they choke on a large frog of fish? They could. I have seen it before, but I haven't seen one choke to death. I've seen birds choking properly before, and where I thought, my goodness, should I do something because this doesn't look like it's going well. But these are in wildlife areas, so obviously I don't do anything. But I've seen a bird almost choke on a snake. It was too large for it. I've seen a bird almost choke on a frog, and I've seen it with a fish as well. I'm sure we had a clip during Wild Moments, maybe about a year ago. It was a while back, where there was I think it was a saddle-billed stork, and it swallowed the fish, but the fish was still moving. So that kind of thing can cause a bird to choke, but you would find that their esophagus and the area around their neck can be quite flexible because they are regularly consuming live prey that's wriggling about and moving and trying to escape. So they need to also be able to accommodate for that so they can actually swallow it down. But the way that your esophagus works and the muscles in that area is that it moves things slowly. So it's called peristalsis or peristalsis. And if you imagine that your throat looks something like this, then these kind of muscles move things down like that. So that moves, and then once the food moves, that moves, and then that moves. So the muscles are trying to push the food down. So the muscles are also going to help the bird to get whatever it is down their throat. But I've seen some really awkward incidences. And remember that when it comes to anything, basically any part of the anatomy, if that part of an animal exists, then problems with it can exist too, including accidents like choking. Oh, we've got one last moment together, one last minute. Kirst says, Papa fish, Papa fish. All right, let's have a look at this. Where are you? There we go. So this is an actual pufferfish. It's been treated, obviously, it's a very large one. You can see all the spines. And inside, you can see that there's no teeth, but there is a bony plate. And that allows it to crush things. Now, before we say goodbye, I want to show you one last one, because I used to work with sharks previously. And here, we have the jaw of a shark. Can you see those teeth? Now, these teeth don't cause a lot of trouble. This looks like it might be from a ragged-toothed shark. You can see it's all kind of all over the place. But those types of teeth don't cause a lot of trouble. It's the serrated kinds of teeth that will really slice you up. Anyway, I'm glad that I got to share those little things with you. Cursed, you say that it looks happy. I suppose. Oh, what's on this side? I suppose it does look happy. Looks a bit stunned, but it does look happy. And I love being in areas like this because it really gets people to become curious and ask questions because it's hands-on. You can see the different parts. You can see different animals. You can look in the tanks. You can smell. You can touch, and that's really how you ignite people's curiosity. Talking is great, reading is great, listening is great too. But when it comes down to it, we all have this child inside of us that just wants to get our hands dirty and really want to feel the world around us. So I'm glad that I was here for today's Wild Moments. But anyway, it's time to say goodbye. Thank you so much for your questions and your comments and for keeping me company as I am the Lone Ranger today. But I will see you all next week. Hopefully, I'll have a partner too. But for now, it's bye bye from me and the aquarium.